one is work flexibility. So according to this survey, he quoted Deloitte survey, work flexibility is one of the main things that millennials are, he said, demanding. So, and as he mentioned, this is one of those things too, where there's always the kind of the sets, you come in 9 to 5 into this office, and that's just how it is. And so he said that the main objection to this would be, I had to do it this way, so why aren't they going to do it? And and he basically says that, he says, ask yourself the question, are you willing to make this change in work flexibility in order to get millennials to work with you? Because someone's going to be doing it. And if you're not, then they're just going to go work for that person. Mm-hmm. Number two is
to what extent does that flexibility need to take place? Did you talk to him about that?
No, this was a long time ago, but it wasn't just necessarily like not like working from home. Mm-hmm. It was more along the lines of flexibility with hours in the office, and then obviously working from home too. But no, we went into detail on the second one the most, and that was different. Number two is different things in leadership. So the three characteristics they want out of the millennials want out of leadership is inspirational leadership. So he says that if you aren't someone who's like inspiring to your millennial employees, then you can just partner up with someone or bring on someone who is inspiring, but just something that motivates them to actually to work. And actually, as I said, there's a survey, a millennial leadership survey you can find online that lets you know if you're deemed a leader in the eyes of millennials. And then number two is autonomy.
What's the survey?
It's just called the Millennial Leadership Assessment. Okay. That's what he called it. Number two was autonomy. And so he did a quote by Ben Kirshner and said, and this is kind of like his example of what it means to be autonomous, is saying that it's up to you to protect this house. We have something worth fighting for. So kind of a combination of inspiration, but also saying like, hey, it's up to you to make sure that our company thrives. I'm not going to be micromanaging you. I'm not going to be breathing on your neck all the time. Obviously, if they're not getting the work done, then that's another issue altogether. But less micromanaging and more of them just being able to, use their own millennial creative juices to figure out what to do. And then the third one is transparency, which I thought was interesting. And basically saying that they don't want out of their leadership, they want someone who is willing to let them know let them know when they're actually making mistakes, not just like saying nothing until they get fired or have like some sort of performance plan or something. But also kind of the other way around, they also want to know if they made any mistakes, and they also want to know how the leaders are making decisions, right? So they kind of want to know what's going on. They kind of want to know what the big picture plan is at the company. So inspirational leadership, they want autonomy, and they want transparency. That's number two, different things in leadership. Whereas I'm assuming maybe baby boomers were a little bit different. Three is demanding purpose out of their company and demanding that they give back to the world around us and the environment. So that one's kind of self-explanatory, but they don't want to work for companies that are just companies and just sell their product and that's it. They want them to be involved in other aspects of the world as well, charities and things like that. For example, I worked at a company where you actually got, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a point program where the more you volunteered, the more points you earned, and the more points you got cooler Cummins gear, like a hoodie and stuff like that. So kind of things like that.
I hate the word demanding in this context, because I immediately think, be the change you want to see in the world. Like if you're demanding of your company that they do something, well, why don't you do it first? And then you set the example. And then as a result of you setting that example, then other people will follow you if that's a good example. And then you're a leader, and then you can create your own company to do that activity that you demanded to do. So I get the, the point of, okay, it needs to have, the company needs to have a purpose. Totally understand that. And it's got to, and it should have some higher meaning associated to it. I understand that. That is certainly what is important for a company, but for employees or millennials in this case, to demand it, well, why don't you go create your own thing, and then you be the change that you want to see.
Exactly. I would say, best of listeners that are listening to this, don't look at this as, oh, these are the characteristics I want to find in the company I work for. No, you want to think about this as, this is the company, these are the characteristics that I want to have in my company. Yeah. So if Good you point. Are doing something like basically, if you do what Joe just mentioned, then you'll attract these millennials who want this. So you don't want to be the millennial who's demanding
right
purpose of a company. You want to create the company that has the purpose that millennials are attracted to.
So when you say best ever listeners, you're really saying, Joe, remember this.
I mean, you
fair enough.
Yeah, but you already do this though.
Yeah.
The best ever causes.
Yeah. Okay.
So number 4 is, this one's kind of obvious, but brand loyalty and employer loyalty goes out the window. So just because there's so many different options out there, this is more along the line of like consumer goods. And someone will buy, one particular product and then they'll just change your mind completely to something else if it's deemed cooler or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then employer loyalty, everyone kind of knows this, that millennials are not staying at jobs very long. He didn't really have a solution to that. He just said that, hey, that's what's happening.
That's what I don't like about this. And it might be true. So I'm not saying it's not true, but what I don't like about it is we go through points 1, 2, and 3, and it's like, okay, I'm going to create my business so that we cater to the millennials. And then number 4 is, but they won't stay anyway. I was like, what? I would think that I would like to isolate 2 groups in a study. One group is the group of companies that adhere to points 1, 2, and 3. And then the other group is a group that does not. And then identify, do people stick around longer if adhering to points 1, 2, and 3? And if so, then that 4th point of, they don't stick around is not correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the case, but I would assume that's the case. If you're doing points 1, 2, and 3, then they will stick around and they will be loyal. Otherwise, why the heck are you doing it in the first place?
Yeah, I would imagine it's just they'll be loyal a little bit longer, but I don't know the answer to that question. That's a good question. That's why you're the best ever interviewer. I didn't ask that question, you would have. You'd be like, well, wait a minute. You just told me these 3 things I should do, and then you told me they're going to leave me? What the heck is up with that?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So these last 3 are also pretty simple. So 5.
I thought there were 6. So you said 1 through 4. So last 2?
Yeah, the last 2.
Okay.
So the last 2 are pretty simple. Reward and recognition of employees, of course. Mm-hmm. And then open work environments that make them a part of the process. And this is something that I think is interesting because I've worked for companies before that did have the more open floor plans, the ones that didn't, and the open floor plans are definitely things that are going to be pretty prevalent now in a lot of different companies.
Mm-hmm.
In my wife's company, they've moved offices and their floor plan is entirely open, and it's kind of just tables that people just bring their laptops to. And I think the first company I worked for was the exact same way. It was just tables that you just sat at. So I'm not sure what the exact thought process is behind that, but I do know that that's happening a lot now.